Oral reading fluency is an indicator of accurate and fluent reading of connected text. ORF provides two scores, the number of words read correctly within 1 minute and the accuracy percentage. M-Class automatically calculates the scores based on how the assessor records student responses. These scoring rules address the common situations you are likely to encounter while administering this measure. Use the timestamp shown here to skip ahead to a scoring rule you're eager to learn about or to review a rule in the future. Correct responses. Do not mark correct responses. Incorrect responses. Tap each word read incorrectly to mark it in red. Self-corrections. If a student makes an error but corrects it within 3 seconds, tap the word to turn it green. Hesitations. If a student hesitates for 3 seconds on a word, score the word incorrect, provide the correct word, point to the next word in the student materials, and say, keep going. For example, if a student says he and then hesitates for 3 seconds on thought, tap the word thought to score it incorrect and say thought. Point to the word he in the student materials and say keep going. Repeat this prompt as needed in response to hesitations. Omissions. If a student skips a word, mark it incorrect. For example, if a student says home from one and leaves out the word school, mark school incorrect. If a student skips an entire row, tap the X at the beginning of the row to record a score of 0 for that line. Discontinue rule. If a student reads 0 correct words within the first line, discontinue ORF. M-Class assigns the student a score of 0. Continue assessing with any remaining subtests. Mispronunciations. If a student mispronounces a word or words within the context of a sentence, mark it incorrect. For example, if a student says, learned to read books, instead of learned to read books, mark the word read incorrect. Substitutions. If a student does not read a word exactly as written, score it incorrect. For example, if a student says, Bobby is on instead of Bobby was on, score the word was incorrect. The substitution rule applies to abbreviations. Score abbreviations incorrect if spelled out. For example, if a student reads Mr. Wiseman as Mr. Wiseman, score the abbreviation Mr. incorrect. The substitution rule also applies to contractions. If a contraction is read as 2 words, score it incorrect. For example, if a student reads it couldn't be as it could not be, score the word couldn't incorrect. If 2 separate words are read as a contraction, score both words incorrect. For example, if a student reads he was as he's, score both words incorrect. Words read out of order. If a student reads words in the wrong order, score them incorrect. For example, if a student reads from school one day as from school day one, score the words one and day incorrect. Words sounded out. If a student sounds out a word and does not blend it, score it incorrect. For example, if a student reads the word green as green and does not blend it to green, score the word green incorrect. If a student sounds out a word and then blends it, score it correct. For example, if a student reads the word green as green and then blends it to green, count the word correct and leave it unmarked. Inserted words. If a student inserts a word that is not in the text, do not make any marks. For example, if a student inserts the word the and reads from the school rather than from school, do not mark anything incorrect. Repeated words. If a student repeats a word but pronounces it correctly, it is not scored incorrect. It is treated like an insertion. For example, if a student reads from school, school, do not mark the word school incorrect.